Hello horror fans, I'm Dr. Udru, and today I'll be looking into 1989's Godzilla vs. Biollante, so let's take some time to smell the genetically mutated roses and begin. In the aftermath of Godzilla's last attack on Tokyo, seen in the 1984 reboot, a sample of Godzilla's cells are collected by scientists. However, after a quick game of bullet tag, the sample is stolen, and later delivered to a research institute in the fictionalized country of Suradia. There, Japanese scientist Dr. Shiragami, along with his daughter Erika, attempt to use Godzilla's cells to create a supply of GMO crops for the desert country. But when a terrorist bombing kills Erika, Shiragami abandons his work in despair. 5 years later, and back in his homeland, Shiragami combines Erika's cells with a rose in remembrance. After an explosion near the volcanic Mount Mihara, where Godzilla was detained in the previous film, Shiragami agrees to use the Godzilla cells to develop a defense against the monster. Good idea. But instead decides to fuse them with his familial flower, creating a hybrid monster he names Biollante.
Bad idea.
As international tensions surrounding the Godzilla cells rise, American agents explode Mount Mihara, unleashing Godzilla on Japan yet again. When Biollante calls out to her newly awakened brethren, the G-Man goes in for a kiss from a rose. Of course, like all siblings, they end up fighting. After the success of 1984's Godzilla, Toho held a story writing contest for a follow-up in the fall of 1985. Out of 5,024 entries, the winner was Shinichiro Kobayashi, a part-time screenwriter and dentist.
I'm your dentist!
In Kobayashi's script, before creating Biollante, Shiragami combines the DNA of a fish and a mammal, creating a 50-foot-tall monster dubbed Dutalios. Kobayashi named Biollante by combining the prefix bio with the French word for violin, inspired by Paul Verlaine's poem Chanson d'automne, or Autumn Song. From there, writer-director Kazuki Amori began revising Kobayashi's drafts, jettisoning Dutalios in favor of Biollante's rose form, and including a revamped military vehicle from the previous film, the Super X-2. Amori also expanded a precognitive reporter into the psychic Miki Segusa. With Stephen King's Carrie in mind, Amori envisioned Miki fighting Godzilla herself, even lifting the giant monster out of water. However, this idea was ultimately rejected by executive producer Tomoyuki Tanaka. Also, based on his lifelong love of James Bond films, Amori included an espionage subplot revolving around the sample of Godzilla cells. In 1986, fellow giant monster flick King Kong Lives flopped in Japan, convincing Toho producers to put Godzilla's return on hold. In the meantime, Amori prepared for the kaiju genre by making 3 female-led young adult movies.
Okay.
After the Japanese release of Little Shop of Horrors in 1987, Biollante went back into production. Come August 1989, filming began at Toho Studios in Tokyo, Japan, and would continue until early November. Some of the first designs for Biollante were drawn by Kako Yodane. Yodane based his design for Biollante's rose form on Darling Utsobo, a creature he created for the show Emergency Command 10-4-10-10. Meanwhile, Yodane's quadruped Biollante resembles Leogon, a similar plant-animal hybrid he came up with for an episode of The Return of Ultraman, which was coincidentally written by a 16-year-old Shinichiro Kobayashi.
I'm a dentist!
Over the years, Biollante's look went through several iterations, and at one point even featured a human face reminiscent of Erika. Like all previous Godzilla films, Godzilla vs. Biollante made use of miniatures and suitmation, a technique of shooting performers in monster suits in slow motion. The suits for both of Biollante's forms were operated by Masao Takagami. However, Biollante's final form required an additional 20 operators controlling 32 piano wires. Biollante's call was inspired by the song of Humpback Whales.
Fascinating.
Meanwhile, longtime kaiju suit actor Kenpachiro Satsuma donned 2 Godzilla suits for the film, one for land scenes weighing 242 pounds and another for water coming in at 176 pounds. Godzilla's close-ups, however, were shot using an animatronic head and torso. For Godzilla vs. Biollante, special effects director Koichi Kawakita completely redesigned Godzilla's look, making him more animalistic and less of a strabismus suffering hunk of crap. Most notably, Kawakita gave the Big G larger irises and a feline-like muzzle. Godzilla's newly added second row of teeth was suitably suggested by everyone's favorite screenwriting dentist, Shinichiro Kobayashi. And another feature the so-called Biogoji suit sported was fully functioning light-up dorsal fins. In previous films, this effect was achieved exclusively through animation. Kawakita also experimented with both cell animation and stop-motion animation for the climactic battle between the two monsters, though these effects were left on the cutting room floor. In other unused sequences, Biollante attacked a boat full of soldiers, and the hills surrounding Godzilla bloomed with flowers after Biollante was defeated for the first time. Godzilla vs. Biollante does include reused footage from the Toho films Submersion of Japan and Magnitude 7.9. In a first for Japan, Biollante's effects used 70mm film for optical compositing, allowing combined elements to be less grainy. The film is also the first in the franchise to make use of computer-generated effects. As an Easter egg, the oxygen destroyer from the original 1954 Godzilla can be seen in Colonel Goto's office, and Biollante also features a brief cameo by singer Demon Kogure from the heavy metal band Saikima 2. Kogure had won a Godzilla Roar-like contest in 1986, and in the same month as Biollante's release was the voice of the Joker in the Japanese dub of Tim Burton's Batman. This video was brought to you by the following patrons on Patreon. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to check out my other videos.